Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this podcast with Janet Eichhorst tonight. Janet, am I pronouncing your last name the way you do? Am I pronouncing it
You
correctly?
are Eichhorst.
Eichhorst, such a
Mm,
beautiful name.
thank you.
Okay, so welcome. We are here offering hopefully updates in spiritual beliefs and practices and the way that you apply the light that you are in this reality to make it easier, maybe more logical, more rational if you have that type of brain where you want things and deserve things to make sense. There's a lot of ways that traditional spiritual beliefs and very commonly held spiritual beliefs get tired and they had a bump, they had an upgrade for a while, and then they sort of lost their usefulness, and maybe there's a better idea. And that's what Janet and I are very dedicated to offering you is an updated belief that gets you another bump in the access that you give yourself to the source energy that you are. Hi, Janet.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so glad we're here.
Oh, me too. And so glad everybody's here with us. Thank you for
Mm.
being here and thank you for listening and thank you for your comments and please share. I love this format, this peer-based conversational. Let's see how we can expand ourselves, expand reality, have a better time here, because there's a lot going on in our world.
Always, right?
Yeah,
Always.
it's true.
Oh, that's so big. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Let's just take a moment here and feel into it and see if something pops up. I love the topic that we did on the last podcast about giving ourselves permission to acknowledge anger that we may justifiably have in this human experience and giving ourselves enough love and grace and compassion to address anger. That felt so useful. And I'm so glad we did that. And I'm excited for whatever we talk about for today.
Yeah, me too. Let's see.
Mm. One idea, Janet, is this notion that if you are in, I'm torn about what words to use here, but if you are living a life or acting in a way that's pleasing to the universe, to God, to source energy, then pretty much nothing bad will happen to you in this reality. You won't get sick, you won't get hurt, um, you won't have debt, you'll have more than enough money, and everything will just, the more in alignment with source energy you are, the more easy and breezy your life will be. That's a common belief I come across in spiritual communities, and I have a very different perspective on all
Mm.
of those things. Do you like that topic for today? How do you feel? Or is there one that you feel more strongly and we can do that one another time?
No, I really like that topic. That we want some sort of guarantee. If I do this, then it guarantees that I'm going to have the life that I really think I want, right? And there's a lot to be said about all that. I think it's great.
Okay. All right. So when I come across that in my spiritual soulful work, the conversation that normally happens is, well, what if that's not true?
Mm,
What if you are a very soulful being? What if you are very loved by what I would call God? Again, you can use whatever term you want. You can use the universe loves you, source energy loves you, your team, your higher self loves you, and you have this illness, or and you have this, mountain of financial debt, or and you have this unemployment situation that you don't want, and you have the situation of being single, but you wish you were not single. There's just so many, there's a litany of things that we can feel are out of sorts. Well, if God, and that's my term, if God loves me, then how can I be so unhappy with this situation? They actually do go together. And I would offer that source isn't happy either that you're having things that you'd rather not have. Source isn't pleased that things aren't going the way you wish they would, but source acknowledges that there's ways that this reality works that are out of our control and just happen here. And it's not personal to you. Cancer happens here. Unexpected injury and illness happens here. Debt can happen here. Medical debt can happen here. Unemployment can happen here. And God isn't necessarily saying, "Yep, that's what I wanted for you." Right? God is like, "Damn, I didn't want that. That sucks. I didn't want that to happen to you. Please let me into this experience. Let me love you amidst that unpleasantness, because I have so much love for you."
Yeah,
How would you put? Yeah, go ahead.
it almost like when you're talking, it almost brings out the idea of like almost a punishing God, almost like it has that flavor of it, or that victimization is personal. And that's never helpful to think that way,
Mm,
right? It just isn't. And there's a lot of things that happen, I'm very big on perspective, and if I hold that perspective of victimization or think that the reason behind it is A, B, C, or D, it may have nothing to do with it. Not one thing. And so God works in mysterious ways. I mean, look at the most catastrophic situations that have happened. I
mm,
mean, in our world, I mean, look what's happened in Asheville and in the East right
mm,
now. And what I see is the best of humanity coming forward, regardless of the cause of that situation. So we put too much emphasis on cause and understanding, which limits our experience and limits our experience of
mm,
what God can be and what
mm,
how we can be in situations like that. Some people are wired to be in the midst of disaster. I've read these stories about people and they are, I mean, I could call them saints
mm,
for how they hold their light in that situation and bring joy to the most dejected people that have lost everything. And that brings forward the best of our humanity. Is that because
mm.
somebody was bad and they did, like they didn't pay their bills on time or they said something mean to somebody or, like, let's not go there.
Mhm.
And sometimes we can see that causal nature.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
So the other thing I come across quite often in spiritual communities is they're able to be that saint, that saintly presence or angelic presence for someone else and their suffering or in their turmoil, but they're not able to do that for themselves. So
Mm,
there's a sense of, well, I'm going to, provide aid or assistance to a loved one that has lost their job or a loved one that's experiencing cancer. I'm just giving examples that happen here, right? But
mm,
then if they get cancer or they have, a hurricane, really cause a huge disruption in their life and their sense of feeling loved and protected in this world, they reach out to someone like you or someone like me and go, "Okay, what is the lesson in this? Because this shouldn't be happening to me. I thought I was in alignment with my source energy. I thought I was at the 0 point frequency so well in my life, and I must not be
mhm,
because this is happening." So in that interpretation of it, they're literally pushing their source energy off to a separate quadrant of themselves and going, that God must be over here. And
mm,
I'm over here having this horrible experience. And if I were in harmony, if I were in oneness with my source energy, this wouldn't be happening.
mm,
Right. So it's like, okay, let's just let's take a break and take a breath and really look at this. What if your interpretation is off?
mhm,
What if you can't not be your source energy, even if you are experiencing this thing you would not have scripted for yourself? What if they're actually not separated? And then they go, okay. And I can literally feel their source energy be allowed back into their sense of self, their sense of identity. And then they're like, okay. So are you saying then, Jill, that I don't have control over everything that happens to me in this reality?
Mhm,
And my answer is, that's exactly what I'm saying.
mhm,
We don't have full control over
mhm,
everything that happens to us in this reality, but we always have full control over what we are amidst what can happen to us, quote unquote, in this reality.
mhm. Oof, let's just breathe into that. Wow, that's so good.
So you have
Yes.
an unexpected IRS debt. How do you want to be you amidst that? Because the whole step of this shouldn't be happening to me is a misinterpretation of this reality and possibly a misrepresentation of you amidst your godliness,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that deserves an adjustment if it's wrong. And I
Yeah.
would say it is wrong. If your expectation was that, well, if I'm right with my source energy, then none of that bad stuff will ever happen to me. I'll never get cancer. I'll never lose a loved one. I'll never have this happen or that happen or this thing that no one would want. That none of those things will happen to me. That is such an unhealthy,
Mm,
unrealistic expectation of anyone in this reality.
mhm.
Okay, go ahead, Janet. I want to hear
Yes,
what
and
you have to
I
say about this too.
in that in that example of people that help people and they are saintly, a lot of times I find this with a lot of people is that we're not very well practiced in receiving. And
Mm,
that is not creation is a spiral energy,
mm,
right? It's a give and receive and a upshift and a alchemization and it's all of it. And if I am too heavy on one side and then don't get to experience the other, then I can't sort of spiral upward because it's not organic, right? Giving and receiving is a flow. A
mm,
flow. It's a flow. And so when we sort of surrender the idea that we have control of everything, then I can see it's like, oh wow, when's the last time I received the biggest hug that I've ever had? And when's the last time somebody gave me something and
mm,
I was so appreciative, regardless of how big or small it was,
mm,
because I felt and received their love, which helped me access my godliness more. Right. So,
mhm,
we talked about this before, but the reasons that we're here are varied. And what human experience can be here is so expansive and wide.
mm,
And when we sort of don't try to be in that control or rack up points so that bad stuff can't happen, that idea,
mhm,
we can have a much greater experience. And something happens. I mean, I can feel it in that level of surrender, in
mhm,
that stillness. I mean, that's why I meditate. Some people meditate in lots of different ways, but it's that let's see what co-creatively we can do
mm,
here with my fellow humans, with our beloved planet, with our solar system, with all that is, right? Like don't limit it, right? Don't ever
yeah,
try. I mean, that's
yeah,
my suggestion anyway. When I can be in that stillness in that way,
mm,
then I don't take things personally because there's this certainty, this knowingness that all is well, no matter what it looks like from a human lens. And
Mm,
maybe part of me that feels hurt. There's so much more in it, and the exquisiteness of sensation. The other thing I want to add is we have decided as humans, most of us have, what sensations we like better than other sensations. And then we end up judging the ones that we don't like as much.
mm.
That's problematic in my experience.
But you're not saying someone should be happy about being angry, right? Or happy about being hurt. Do I hear you saying that you are going to have your preferred states of being and preferred reactions and preferences for emotions, but there's godliness available as you in all of it. Do I hear you correctly?
Yeah, like, don't
Yeah, so
fight
good.
with what's happening, that
Okay.
denialism that we keep bringing up. Don't
Mm,
fight with it because even I
mm,
mean, I've used this expression many times. Pain without connection is torture, right? Like
mm,
physical pain, emotional pain. Pain with that connection and knowingness of my godliness
mhm,
is a depth of experience that is very special to this planet and opens up possibilities of things that we can't even imagine.
yeah.
And so,
Mm,
I mean, I've been in incredible physical pain in my life, and I'm not against pain pills, mind you, but there's a level of surrender where it lets go of any attachments or things that are
mm,
stuck so that I can really feel that God, universe, love in the whole experience of it. And
mm,
vulnerability is something that is underrated, I'll say, in our society here. And it opens up more potential for us than most of us know. And that is the point a lot of times where experiences loosen our grip.
mhm,
It's not always that. I'm not, claiming that to be true, but experientially and with the people that I work with, you know, our higher levels in the universe can be very insistent when we become too attached to things, right? And the experience just seems to happen that loosens that grip because it's limiting what we can be here, how we can create here, how we can feel, how our hearts can open more. I know I have still parts of my heart that are locked down. Do I like that? Not necessarily. Do I accept it? Yeah. And do I, allow and have the experiences that help me open that? Yeah, every chance I get. Can't always do it, even when I know it's shut down, but
mhm.
that's like, I don't want to keep score, and think bad
Yeah.
things, it's like, let's just live, shall we? Can we just live?
I'm so glad you brought up the idea of vulnerability too, because if we're ready to admit that we don't have full control over what happens to us or what we experience in this reality, but we always have full control over what we are amidst an experience and amidst this reality, then that it part of that other interpretation is that we are vulnerable to what happens to us in this reality.
Mhm.
And in that vulnerability, we give ourselves more access to the source energy we are, right? So I know for some people, the this really new belief that we're offering them is that horrible things can happen to everyone in this reality, and it's not any indication of how much they are loved by the universe. It's not any indication of how on their path supposedly they are. It
Mhm.
just happens that there are things that are not what we want in this reality. And it's not doesn't even have to be a lesson. It doesn't even have to be personal to you, right? It can be a very impersonal experience that just happens. And
Mhm.
then I recognize that some people are really gonna wrestle with that because they much prefer the idea that everything that happens to them or to anyone in this reality is as a result of a plan and a purpose by the universe for those individuals experiencing it. And another completely different interpretation is that there's a whole bunch of things that happen to us in this reality that don't have anyone's name on it. They just happened. It just happened. And it's like, okay. So things just happen here? Yeah. And that's a vulnerable feeling, right? There is this lack of control in that that will bother some people. So I just invite everyone, if you are feeling uncomfortable with that idea, that you just, let yourself be as uncomfortable as you are amidst that. And what if it's true? What if this is more true than your previous idea? And what if in this truth, you're more likely to access your source energy amidst anything and everything that could ever happen to you? And that gives you more grace for yourself and others. It gives you more love for yourself and others. And it gives you more of everything godly in anything and everything that can happen here. And I feel like that's all an upgrade.
Whew. I just kind of dropped into that creator still point because
Mm,
what happens is, and this is not necessarily known. I mean, I could bring in law of attraction here. I could bring in some other things
mm,
that are not, my view on that might be different than a lot of people. What I do know is that when I give up that illusion of control and drop into that
mm,
creator state stillness, there's something very profound that happens where I do have the ability to create from there in a way
mm.
that's not accessible when I'm trying to control it.
That's right.
And that's the true law of attraction. You can have whatever you want here. But it's it's not the lower mind saying, "I want a big house and it's not that. It's dropping into the true essence, and that's why it's gotten so mixed up here.
Mhm.
It's
Mm,
can be really confusing to people because you can't, like, order that up. There's a process
mhm.
of surrender that happens
Right.
through experience a lot of times,
Mhm.
and law if even if you really know how to operate in that law of attraction sort of way, you'll know in the true essence of it, you'll realize you didn't want that stuff you thought you wanted in the first place because
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
this level of alignment that happens, and you're like, "Boy, I wasted a lot of time trying to get that to work." It's okay, I don't have judgment about it, but, like, wow, I coulda used that creational potency in a more aligned way, and I think I will from here on out to the best of my ability, and I won't do it perfectly, so I'm not gonna pretend that I can,
Mhm.
but I am gonna sort of surrender to that
Mhm.
creational essence, which has an innate wisdom in it about kinda how I'm wired and coded.
Yeah,
Right? And that is like, that's the best time ever when I'm in that place.
right. I wanna give some more kind of specific examples about this, Jana, because I feel like it will be helpful.
Great.
We don't we don't create experiences. You create the experiencer of experiences. So one example is a celebration. Maybe it's a holiday. Maybe it's in the US, we celebrate Thanksgiving, right? You can plan the most amazing Norman Rockwell type Thanksgiving experience and invite all your favorite people. And if you are attached to what that experience looks like for everybody, you are probably assured to be disappointed because the only person you actually have control over is you,
Mm,
right? So you get to be you, even if you, the turkey is burned or cold and inedible, right? You get to be you, smiling, laughing at the things that go wrong, whatever. You get to be you in that Norman Rockwell painting, no matter what it looks like. And
mm,
that's where the authority is. That's where the magic, that's where the creator energy is. Because the fallacy about the other, that, oh, I have of course I have full control over the experience. You have no idea what kind of a manifester I am, Jill. I manifest these amazing things in my life and I have all these examples. I'm the best manifester there is, right? Okay, well, are you sure that everybody had a great time in this, fallacy of everybody had the best trip ever because you were so controlling of every single element of the event, right? Maybe they were so happy to get away from you, right? And like, I need a vacation after that supposed vacation because wow, we just weren't allowed to like be disappointed or, it rained and we were still going on the boat ride. Why did we go on the boat when it was raining outside? Well, that was the schedule. Well, that person, you just got to do it their way because there's no talking them out of it. Sometimes manifestors are very controlling people. They pretend that they control others. They're pretending they're controlling other people's joy and emotions. And they're the type of people that are like, everybody's happy, right? You know what I mean? And I'm intentionally being funny here, but I am going to give this example because she is amazing. She teaches somebody I know. She teaches yoga.
yeah.
She definitely knows herself as an amazing manifester. Her kids are all grown now, and she had this experience of being able to look at like home videos and even pictures of holidays.
Mm,
And she was saying to us as her students, she said, actually, I get Pilates reformer from her at the time, but I didn't do yoga. But anyway, felt the need to clarify that. She said, I can't look at those pictures because
mm,
I know what I was feeling and I was upset that we didn't get the pancakes done before we got to the stockings Christmas morning. And I know this woman very well, and she is a very controlling person, and she knows herself as an amazing manifester. And I can see why when she looks back at major holidays where she was trying to make it perfect for everybody,
mm,
she knew how unhappy and out of joy she was because, like in my example, she was trying to manifest the perfect experience for everybody. When
mm,
really the only person she had control over, the only thing she had control over was herself and her emotions and her feeling and how she was being in that moment. So, had she been
mm,
more vulnerable, right? And I still don't think she knows this, and that it just breaks my heart because she is so amazing, and now she's a grandparent that probably still every holiday she feels this pressure. Do we all have the matching jammies on? You were supposed to, why don't you have the matching socks I gave you? You're doing it wrong. Like, fine, you're going to ruin the picture. Again, you know what I mean? Versus just, let's just be happy. Let's just let myself be so happy that let me let you feel nothing but my love for you. And that's
mhm,
it.
mhm,
Right? So I know that's maybe a silly example, but it might be a little bit more concrete for people to go, oh no, I get what she's talking about.
mm.
What about you, Janet?
I think it's kind of interesting to talk about family pictures because when we if I really want to see what happened in my childhood, or how I
Mm,
felt when I was a teenager or whatever,
mm,
it's very interesting because I've done a lot of self-reflective work.
mm,
And it's been very helpful to go back and look about, wow, wow. And it kind of clicks on some level. There's things where I'll say reclaim those parts of myself on some level looking at pictures because what I thought was happening was not. And what actually was happening is something different. And through the lens that I have now as this seemingly adult human being, it's very interesting to look at that, because we have been, I'll use the word entrained
Mm.
to try to be big controllers and try to, I mean, in a lot of families, I'll say that it's a societal, a collective thing where, we want it to be how and you should be able to have that here because this is Earth. And we happen to be in America where we can have the American dream. Other countries, you have your own version of that, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
Probably not as arrogant as ours in the US. Oh my God.
probably
We see
not.
it ourselves, you guys. We have
We
self-awareness
do. I
and we
own
have
it.
self-love too. It's
We
just,
do.
uh,
We do. So
yeah.
it's really interesting. And, and I like how you brought up, and I could feel when you talked about love.
Mm,
What is the cohesive
mm,
force here? Where are we in alignment with how we're wired here?
mm,
This universe is a creation of unconditional love.
mhm,
And for whatever reason, and we could talk a lot about that, that has not played out here in the way that,
yeah,
there's things that have gotten in the way. And so the
mhm,
more when we talk about pretending something's not true that is, the more we can sort of pretend that and value that and have our actions reflect that we value that, the
yeah.
better, and wow.
It's you guys, this is huge. Um, I feel like I could be clear in this one, and I apologize for that if somehow you guys are agreeing with me. Um, this idea that if we were being our light better, then everything would be going well in our lives
Mm,
causes problems because when things aren't going right by our own standards, we are denying our own source energy and source energy love and compassion
mm,
and understanding for whatever we wish weren't happening to us. And that to me is actually the biggest concern about it is when we need it most, we
mm,
aren't letting the source energy for ourselves to the surface from within.
mm,
And Janet, you and I both know that in our own journeys, when we have needed, I use the word term God, the most, did we let God in? And I
mhm,
have so many examples of feeling so grateful that my belief system is aligns me with access to source energy when I need it the most. And I want that for everyone because we all have experiences. Even the supposedly most enlightened, even the supposedly highest vibrational individuals have
mm.
moments where we were like, whoa, that's not what I expected. Is God mad at me? Am I doing something wrong? Or is this just something that can happen here and it happens to be happening to me?
Yeah. Yeah, those are the greatest surrender moments. I know I shared this with you once and how I was I just didn't feel like like what's going on in my life and I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, I am going to hit my knees."
mm,
And it was just that level of like, I'm not suggesting everybody needs to hit their knees, but that act of me
mm,
hitting my knees was the physicality of surrendering
mm,
and aligning, I want to say, and allowing that source energy
mm,
to come in and shift my
mm.
perception and offer me options and do whatever needs to be done.
I can feel some people resisting the word surrender.
Mm,
And I just want to offer them that you're not surrendering to another authority.
yes.
You're surrendering to the source energy that
Ye
you are,
yes.
that wants to be a part of whatever brought you to your knees to begin with.
Yes, a different way of saying that
Mm,
is
I love it. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
alignment
Mm,
and, opening the channels, I'll say. And another way of saying it is to let go of the egoic constraints or the lower mind ideas, or we could go on about how this could look or how people
mm,
perceive it. You know, the monkey mind ideas that I'm looping in. We don't have to live that way. We do till we don't.
yeah.
When I open myself up, it's more like opening myself up and allowing myself to be more of who I
Mm.
truly am. That's another way of saying it.
Oh, good. I feel like you've said it really clearly. I just wanted to address that little word that because I could feel people go, I don't like the word surrender. Whoa, 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 wait a minute, right? But so I just wanted to offer some more words to it because I feel like you said it beautifully because you said surrender and you also said some other words that are probably less I don't want to use the word triggering, but less offensive to some people. So I think you said it beautifully. Sorry if I wasn't clear about why I wanted to add some other explanation about the important word surrender.
Oh,
That's
that's
good.
fine. And I love saying all those
Mm,
other things too, because the more open we can get around it and the more we can be in
mm,
that state together,
mm.
consider areas where perhaps a little more light would be helpful. Because that is another way of
Okay.
saying it too. Let's add more,
Mm,
let that be illuminated,
mm.
you know?
And watch your thoughts. When things aren't going the way you want them to for you or for another person, watch your thoughts because they'll tell you what your beliefs are.
Mhm.
Your thoughts of what this isn't supposed to be happening. Says who? Because it's not source, right? Source isn't surprised by anything, right?
Right.
Our source energy is not shocked by anything that can happen here, right?
Yeah.
So our source energy can go, well, how could this happen? Right? But our thoughts can be because our thoughts are wrapped in our beliefs of, well, this doesn't happen to good people. This doesn't happen to people that meditate. This doesn't happen to me. I'm the best manifest forever. You know what I mean? So our thoughts are pointing out to us where we are making it harder for us to feel the love and the light that we also are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, little
Hmm.
Byron Katie, is it true? You know,
Is that what she says? Okay, that's good.
that's
Is
one
that
of her
true?
things.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't think so. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it's so big. Anything else that you want to add to this one?
Let's see.
Mm,
No, nothing is popping out or presenting. Oh wow,
mm,
I just can you feel it? We just want to drop in. Can you feel that? Like just drop in. Like right
mm.
here, you know. I tend to get a little physical sometimes, but right where the sternum is, just see,
Oh, nice.
you
Okay.
know, I can feel right there.
Mm,
Oh, there, yeah. Open, open, open. Oh, so it's what the way it's feeling to me is there's a level of embodiment that's possible where we
mm.
more experience here that's getting some light shown on it, I'll say. And maybe a little love, right? We sometimes
Mm,
forget the love that our physical body needs,
yeah.
right? And
Mm,
you
it's
know,
so big.
embodiment's not a small thing here on this planet.
No. Oh my gosh. Uh,
Yeah.
the other strategy I feel that to make sure we include is the part of you that's sort of confused or like, well, this isn't supposed to be happening to me, right? This isn't supposed, or that isn't supposed to be happening to that person I know that's so in their light and all these things. that you let that part of you be right there, like that book in the bookshelf that we talked about in episode 2. And now in
Mm,
episode 3, we can add this idea that there's a part of you that feels like this is not supposed to be happening to you, or this
mm,
is not supposed to be happening to someone that you know and love. And then another part of you can also say, but it is.
mm,
So let's allow ourselves to be
mm,
loved and loving
mm,
of ourselves and of the experience and of each other alongside confusion, frustration, anger, sadness, whatever that is.
mm, mm.
That feels so complete. And I have to confess that I am a recovering control freak. My name is Jill. I'm a recovering control freak.
Hi, Jill.
I'm in full thanks. Hi, Janet. I'm in full recovery. She crops up occasionally. Like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That's not what I was trying to, create here. That kind of I love her. I love that part of me that feels like the more control over a situation that I have, the better things go. I've added so much vulnerability to my life. It's made me far better parent. It's made me a far better spouse. It's
Mm,
made me a far better friend.
mm,
Because now, when something that's really hard that someone's experiencing, I'm not judging them.
mm,
There's nothing there that's going, well, how could I have been such a horrible creator that I created this?
mm,
Or that, what were they, what's wrong? What are they doing wrong that they created that thing for themselves? Right? I don't have that anymore. She's not there, right? But she was there, front and center. Wow, somebody got cancer? I would have thought they would have been more evolved than that. Hmm, well, guess not, right?
yeah. Yeah, that's a really excellent point to bring out. Because implicit in that is that I know better, like I know best, and that is claiming a level of God that we are not. And on this
And God isn't.
ex-
Even God isn't that, right? So we're attributing this idealism to source energy
yeah,
in general and here in
yeah.
this time space that is just um, really problematic and very inauthentic and not
Mm.
real.
Well, I know for myself, there's been a lot of situations that look bad from the outside, like I'm having a terrible time,
Mm.
and it is
Mhm.
painful or hard or whatever. And
Mhm.
then looking back, I was like, wow, like, I'm really
Mm.
glad people stayed out of my way because there was a
Mm.
certain level of experience that the all of me, including in this human form, was having, and that if somebody would have gotten in my way, that would have gotten in the way of that experience.
Mhm.
That really allowed me to know myself better and this world better and the all that is better. And I
Mhm.
planned it on some level, like, I might not have been conscious of it, but it's that thing where it was
Mhm.
doing something that isn't necessarily obvious
Mhm.
to the whoever's looking at it. But it's vital. It's
Yeah.
like, an alcoholic, let them hit their bottom. Don't get in their way, let them do it.
Mm. Mm.
You get in their way, and you're just gonna make everybody more miserable, like,
Mm.
honor their experience. Honor it. More love,
So
not
good.
less, without judgment, because we are not walking in their shoes,
Yeah.
you know?
There's this line that came to me, this set of words, and it was, don't confuse your experience with your identity.
Mhm,
Our experience does not always speak to the light and the godliness that we are
mm,
and we can't not be.
mm,
And that's a rewrite for a lot of people in terms of what spirituality is, what being a devoted spiritual being is. And I am so glad.
Mm,
we offered this topic here in podcast number 3.
yeah, me too. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
So good. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you everybody for being here. I can feel you, and I love it. Can feel heart, can feel heart. I can feel love. I can feel, I want to
Mm,
say an earthly expansiveness, right? There's just like this
too.
illumination, right?
Mm,
Like horizontal
mm,
illumination and down, right?
mm. Out all in all directions. How about
All
that?
directions, right? It is, and a lot of times it does. We don't feel it going down and
Mm,
horizontally, but that's,
yeah,
it's like yes, that
radiating out in all ways.
yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this with others.
Mhm.
We've talked about before about how this is going out to our newsletters first. So
Mhm.
thank you for sharing the newsletter and asking other people to subscribe to those newsletters. And then it's published a few days later, related to the public YouTube channels and podcast channels and distribution networks. So thank you so much for your support of this thing. We always can use encouraging words if you're loving it, liking it, if there are certain favorite topics that you'd like us to address, things that never made sense to you in spirituality that you're starting to give yourself more permission to go, actually, now that we're talking about these things, is do you guys believe in this thing or is there a better explanation of maybe an upgraded belief I could try on here? Please let us know. We'd love to hear those. And in the absence of other people's ideas, we'll just keep plugging along with what we feel might be a huge upgrade and update for you guys. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jill, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Janet. Love you so much.
Love you too. Bye, everyone.